Buying a home can be one of the most exciting times in someone's life, and it can also be one of the scariest times in someone's life as well, especially if you don't know what you're doing. And I don't know about you, but I was never taught any of this stuff in school, and that's why today I want to make a video and go over everything involved in the buying process and answer some of the most commonly asked questions I get from my buyers on the daily. Basically, I'm going to go over everything that I wish I knew when I bought my first property. And before I dive into anything, I would appreciate if you guys are enjoying my content, you hit the like or subscribe button below. It really helps get my information out to other people like you who are looking for advice in the real estate market. So without further ado, let's dive in and chat about the buying process. So when you first start thinking of buying a home, you might be wondering where you start, and you could be feeling a little bit overwhelmed. You're going to want to go over your wants, needs, your reasons for moving, and kind of what you're looking for in an overall lifestyle. And from there, you'll be able to pinpoint the type of property that would best suit you and your budget, and also what neighborhood would be a good fit for you. Remember, you can always change something in a home, but you can't change its location. So focus on the location first, and everything else can follow, as long as it meets your budget. Preparing your finances is the first place you're going to want to start so that you can not only know how much home you can afford, but how much you're comfortable in paying. A mortgage pre-approval isn't as easy as going online and filling out some calculations and getting a number back. You're going to have to get in touch with a mortgage broker who will give you a formal pre-approval. Otherwise, it's kind of like walking into a mall without your wallet. No one goes to malls anymore. It's kind of like shopping on Amazon without knowing what's in your bank account. You're going to feel frustrated, and you're kind of walking into the situation blindly. Now, some people walk into their banks and use their mortgage specialist there, and that's totally fine. And the alternative option is choosing an independent mortgage broker. An independent mortgage broker works outside business hours, and they can choose from a variety of different lenders, whereas your bank might be limited to some of the options they can give you. Full disclosure, I'm not a mortgage broker, but I do have some great ones that I work with who can provide more insight on this topic. So once you've submitted all the required documentation to your mortgage broker, such as your T4s, NOAs, and so on, they will be able to provide you with a pre-approval. Now, please note, a pre-approval is not a guarantee, but it does give you a very good idea of what you should be able to afford. You're still going to have to submit your accepted offer to your mortgage broker, who will then pass it on to the lender and underwriter before they can give you the final green light on financing for your chosen home. One topic that is going to come up when you are speaking with your mortgage broker is how much of a down payment and deposit that you need going forward. So let's get the elephant out of the room. What's the difference between a down payment and a deposit? Because these are two things that are often confused with buyers. A deposit is due after subject removal. It's held in your realtor's trust account until completion day, and the deposit goes towards your down payment. Although there's no specific rules or guidelines on what is required for a deposit amount, the rule of thumb we as realtors use is 5% down. So for example, if you are purchasing $1 million property, we expect that deposit amount to be roughly $50,000. A down payment is the total amount of money you are putting towards your property on completion day. I'm going to explain to you how much minimum requirements are for down payments in BC. Here is my down payment structure. Yes, I did design it myself in Canva. Eat your heart out. So up to $500,000, we see 5% down, 10% additional between $500,000 and $99999. And anything above $1 million requires a 20% down payment. So on a $900,000 home, we can take the first $500,000 times that by 5%. That comes out to $25,000. The additional amount due between $500,000 and $900,000 is $400,000 more. Times that by 10%, an additional $40,000. So your total down payment is $65,000 down on a $900,000 home. Compare that to a home of of 1.75. That's over the $1 million mark, so that's just an easy calculation of 20% down, which comes out to a whopping $350,000. So obviously coming up with the down payment is the most challenging part of buying a home, and ways to get around that are to team up with other people. Perhaps you have a co-signer, maybe the bank of mom and dad can gift you some money. I have seen it happening more and more where families are purchasing together or two couples are purchasing together. They're getting a rental income suite. It helps you get your foot in the door. It allows you to build up that equity, which in turn will allow you to leverage that into more properties or eventually a property on your own down the road. One final note I'll make on mortgages, because I'm not a mortgage broker, is that anything under 20% down will require you to purchase mortgage insurance. If you're putting over 20% down, your mortgage is called a conventional mortgage, and you're not required to go through a company like CMHC or Genworth to insure your mortgage. You might want to weigh the pros and cons of how much you're putting down. I never want to see a buyer so stressed out that they've maxed themselves out financially, and because today's rates are quite low, you might be better off by purchasing mortgage insurance, because that does get worked into your mortgage, and leaving yourself with a little bit of a cushion. You might be surprised on how little your monthly payments change if you do go through CMHC versus if you don't. But again, talk to your mortgage broker. Okay, so you've got your pre-approval all in place. You know how much your down payment is, you know how much your deposit is, and you have that readily available. Now it's time to find a real estate agent. Do you need a real estate agent? Well, I'm a little bit biased because I am one, but as of 2018, BC made it so that a seller and buyer cannot be represented by the same real estate agent in the same transaction. Now, this agent is someone who should help you navigate the sale. They should help you understand current market conditions, and they will know what to write in the contract to best suit your needs. In BC, it does not cost you any money to have a realtor represent you on the purchasing side. Although you don't have to have one, if you did not use a real estate agent, you would be going and representing yourself, and you may not know what terms and conditions are needed to go into that contract to best protect yourself in that situation. So aside from the down payment and deposit, what other money do I need to come up with, and what other costs are involved in buying a property? So the big cost for buyers is property transfer tax. That's 1% of the first $200,000 and 2% of the balance. That unfortunately does not get worked into your mortgage, and you're gonna need to set that amount aside because that's due on completion. I know. Lawyer fees, so legal fees, that's required for every transaction, and that'll run you between $1,200 and $1,500. Another fee to account for is moving fees, because if you are over 30, a case of beer isn't really going to make up for your pulled L5, L7 lumbar. A home inspection, that could be anywhere between $400 and $1,000+ depending on the type of property you purchase. That's payable by the buyer before subject removal. And of course, if you're putting a subject-free offer in, you're most likely not going to have one, or you can get one after, but whatever they find, you're kind of stuck with because you didn't get one. Home insurance is required, so in a strata property, it's a bit less than a detached home because the building itself is insured and a portion of your strata fee goes towards that insurance. An appraisal might be required, and that will have to be requested from your lender. It's usually around $200, and in some cases, the lender will waive that appraisal fee. So now we found the best property ever. What do we do to secure it? I'm going to go over the offer timeline with you, and I promise to make it as exciting as I possibly can. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you, and yeah, again, my Canva skills are really shining through today. So once you get your offer accepted, which means that the seller and buyer have agreed on the terms, conditions, the price, the dates, all that fun stuff, your offer is now accepted once both parties sign that. I'm going to use conditional offers, so offers that have subjects in them, as an example when I walk you through this, because I'm sure you've been hearing, and in very hot markets, offers come in with no subjects, but we're going to pretend that it's a balanced market or even a buyer's market, and I'll walk you through what it looks like to have an accepted offer with subjects in it. As a buyer, you're going to want to do your due diligence once your offer gets accepted before you remove subjects and put your deposit towards your new home. Examples of subjects can include include financing, which is probably the most important one. So right away when your offer gets accepted, you're going to have your realtor send it to your mortgage broker so they can get that application started. Because yes, you're pre-approved, but that lender still needs to see the specific property. Another common one is getting a home inspection. This is at the cost of the buyer unless the seller has already done a pre-home inspection. Depending on the type of property, it can run you anywhere between $400 and upwards of $1,000 if it's a bigger home or it has additional dwellings like a shop or a secondary suite on the property. If you're buying an acreage or a single family dwelling, it could be on septic, it could have a well. That'll be a case by case basis, but those types of inspections are also available. Your realtor is going to check over the title search for you, the property disclosure statement, and if it's a strata property, we as realtors request the last 2 years of meeting minutes. If they've had a depreciation report, financial reports, we need to see engineering reports, and a whole bunch of fun stuff like that. So you end up getting about 400 pages, which you can read when you fall asleep. But anyway, that's all the important information on a condo building or a townhome building that you need to know, because the last thing you want as a strata purchaser is to move in and find out there's a levy for a couple $1,000s due to fix the roof or the siding or whatever it may be. Once you do all your homework and your due diligence and you're ready to go ahead with the property, you're satisfied with the home inspection, the property disclosure, title search, your mortgage broker has come back with a green light, thumbs up, you're approved for that home, you are now ready to remove subjects. And when this happens, this is now when your deposit's due. And remember, that deposit goes towards the down payment, and the down payment is due on completion. Your deposit is due right when you remove subjects, when you say, hey, I'm ready to go, I want this home. And again, the deposit is roughly 5% of that purchase price. So now that you've handed in your deposit, the deal's official. There's usually a 30 to 90 day waiting period before you complete on that home and you get the keys. Of course, it could be quicker if the home's vacant, or it could be longer if the seller needs additional time to find their next property. But usually 60 days is normal between when you remove your subjects and when you move into the home. So completion and possession are two separate dates in BC. Completion's the day that your mortgage registers. You're on title, you are the registered owner of that property. Possession is when you actually get the keys and take possession of the property, and that usually happens a day or two after completion. We just want to make sure your mortgage has successfully registered, and we also want to give the sellers some time to move out of their home into their new home, etc. I hope that helps clarify the buying process. I know there's a lot of moving parts, and I hope that I did a good job of covering as many questions as you may have had. If you guys do have any additional questions, please comment below. If there's anything I missed or questions that you still have, I'd be happy to answer them for you. And lastly, if you guys want to book a consultation or a buyer's appointment, a seller's appointment with me, or just book a call with me in general to talk about real estate, I have a Calendly link below where you can see my schedule and book a 30-minute call with me. And again, if you guys are enjoying my content, I'd so appreciate it if you hit that like button and hit the subscribe button so more awesome people like you can get this content. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.